the reason why we chose this area. So Adams and Butler, as you probably know, and I do say it again and again, we're very committed to sustainability and supporting local economies and local communities. And one of the ways we do that is we try and bring people to parts of Ireland that other people don't go as much. So one of our favourite places for clients is the west of Ireland. And we have an amazing guy there, Padraic, and he takes people, around the islands and Connemara, etc. So we're going to focus on that area today. But in addition, we have an amazing photographic journey that we're promoting in April. And it will be photographers and non-photographers. And it's almost like the ultimate journey you want to make to the Western seaboard. So we're covering the Aran Islands, Galway, Connemara, and the Shannon area. So I have Marc Richardson with me today, and he is the photographer that's actually will be hosting the group. We're going to the Aran Islands, so I'm just going to share my screen now. And Marc, you come from a very illustrious New Orleans family, the Batiste family. So I know you're very well known for taking photographs of, musicians in New Orleans and around America. So how did you make the jump to, working with Adams and Butler and taking photos in the wildlife and of people and tribes in Africa and Ireland?
Yes, I would actually have to say that although a large portion of my photography that's been showcased and shared over the years has been musician portraiture, capturing those great moments in artists' performances, my actual body of work has always been of great landscapes here in the Adirondacks, as well as a lot of photography in New Orleans. There's a culture that is uniquely New Orleans, and it's been quite fun capturing photos there over the years.
And I know this is one of your favorite photos. Can I ask why it spoke to you at the time and how it happened?
This is one of my favorites. The colors, the textures, the natural framing of the woman in the door. Um, but most of all, this photo reminds me of everything that had to take place for me to be in that exact moment at that exact time. And that's one of the things that I love about photography is being able to capture those moments that really won't exist again, without having captured that. Who would be able to see it?
And the other thing as well is like here we can see like wildlife in Africa. So it really is something that, you never know what you're going to get when you have a camera in your hand and when you're traveling abroad. So the other thing as well is you do a lot of photographs now with tribes. So tell us about this photo here.
Yes, this gentleman is a proud elder of the Hadzabe tribe. They are living. They're one of the disappearing tribes of Africa, and they are living a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. He's quite proud, and also the next picture is of the Datuga tribe, and this is kind of one of their the coming of age moment there that I was able to capture with the tribe, kind of these courting events that happen within the village, and again to be there at that point in time and be able to capture it is kind of a privilege. Yes.
So in April, you'll be hosting the trip that we're doing to the Aran Islands. And this is a
Yes.
picture of Inishmore in the Aran Islands. So tell us why you think that this is an area that's good for taking photos or for budding photographers or non-photographers to travel to.
Yes, from the first time that I traveled there, Pork had put that trip together. This is one example of the wealth of photographic opportunities there. This picture, as well as the following picture, are taken from the exact same vantage point. It's actually just 180 degrees in the opposite direction, and you have this difference of what you were able to capture in those moments.
And then this photo I know is one that a lot of people have raved about. It sort of reminds me, I know you're quite well known for taking photos of cemeteries in, New Orleans. So here's another cemetery here. But how did this one happen?
Yes, actually, this was kind of a gift. I really felt that the light was quite harsh that day, but it kind of really lent to the scene and was able, the harder the light, the darker the shadows. So you were able to, I guess, see the product of that. Even the lilies that were coming, or daffodils, are they?
They're
That were coming
daffodils, yeah.
to bloom at that time of year. It's just a wonderful landscape.
And that's also a time that the photographic journey will be happening, will be in April. And then we're on to musicians. So was it very much different taking a photograph of an Irish musician as opposed to a New Orleans or American jazz musician?
Yes, there's a lot of culture in New Orleans, and with the musicians, and um, a lot of the music has been played generation after generation, and I think that is just even more so the fact with musicians, especially the traditional musicians in Ireland. This was my second opportunity to take photographs of Connor. This was the first, and this was actually at the 25th National um, Music Awards there for traditional artists that I was able to attend. Thank you, Padraic. And they're very stoic in their performances. It's very much that they are kind of a vessel that the music flows through. So it's quite enjoyable being able to um, photograph and be there for their performances.
Yeah, I think like it's almost like they're saying a prayer sometimes because they always have their eyes closed. Whereas you were saying yesterday to me that, sometimes musicians in other countries they have the burst of emotion and enthusiasm that comes out. Whereas with Irish performers, it's very they're it's like a prayer and they revere what they're doing and the people who went before them. And finally, our last photo, this gentleman here.
Yes, this was at Ashford Castle, and this was kind of during a bit of a social hour. So
Yeah,
um,
I need to.
everyone was walking around and joining in actually as he performed and sang. So again,
Brilliant.
quite an enjoyable time.
So I'm just going to stop sharing there. So just to summarize, regarding the trip we're doing, it's in April, and Marc and I will
Yes.
both be hosting it. People will come into Dublin, where they'll be in the Marion Hotel having dinner, etc. that night. Then we go down and we go on the River Shannon and we go on a private yacht. We go along the River Shannon, but we drop into places that are only accessible by water. Very much privileged access to private places and people, private homes, etc., etc. You're going to meet such eccentric characters, like some of the ones that you'd the type that you'd find in the webinar, not the ones in the webinar today, but the type you'd find on the webinar. And then we're going to Dromoland Castle. And Marc, why do you like Dromoland Castle in particular for photos?
Vermeulen it's a wonderful landscape there as well. They have a, a, a forest walk that you're able to go on. It's as well as they have falconry there. So if you would like to photograph birds in flight, there's a wonderful opportunity there as well.
And then after that, we're going along the Cliffs of Moher. We'll be meeting a storyteller that you're going to meet today. We're going to be meeting Birgitta as well. Padraic will be traveling with us when we're on the islands. And we've chosen to actually visit two islands and to stay overnight. So the first island in Ashir is more sort of, bucolic and those, soft beaches and sandy shores. And then onto Inishmore and you have that wild, rugged western landscape. And Marc, what can people have the opportunity of doing there apart from the normal?
Well, of course, there's a wealth of photographic opportunities there on the islands. And in addition, we will also have we've will employ a model that day also for photographers to have while they're there, to be able to incorporate into the landscapes and or even focus on the model themselves. Yeah.
And then you're going to be doing some micro as well.
Yes, there's a lot of, I guess I would call them micro compositions. They're beautiful stone walls there. And just being able to, instead of the vast landscapes, to be able to kind of hone in and look at, a specific portion of the wall or what have you. Again, when I was there, it was the spring and there was a lot of flowers and or birds that would be coming in and out of the stone walls, and makes for other great opportunities.
Brilliant. So thanks a million, Marc. And
Yeah.
we'll be putting a link up to the photographic journey on the chat so that people can look at that. So now we're going to move to the Burren Smokehouse, and we're going to talk to a lovely Swedish lady, Birgitta, who fell in love and married an Irishman when she was visiting Ireland. So over to you, Birgitta.
Thank you. So I'm Birgitta Hedin-Curtin. I'm here in the Burren Smokehouse right now, right 5 miles away from the Cliffs of Moher and right on the Wild Atlantic Way. And of course, I came to Ireland as well for traditional music, for the Aran Islands, for the whole Atlantic experience. And that would have been 40 years ago. Met my husband-to-be, and we started the Burren Smokehouse together. So we're founders and owners of the Burren Smokehouse. And, you know, the Burren landscape is absolutely magical. And we saw an opportunity. I'm a marine biologist. My husband comes from the pub, the gastropub, Roadside Tavern. It's been 150 years in the family. And that's where I met him. And we together started the Burren Smokehouse. We wanted to give people a taste of what is produced in the Burren and produced from here. So when we started to work with Siobhan and Adams Butler, that was a fantastic opportunity. And we have had a lot of visitors coming from Ashford Castle, from Molan Castle, the Marine Hotel, and coming on chauffeur-driven families, intergenerational families, couples. And what we want to give is that genuine experience of real Irish food, of real Irish beverage. So
can I show the short video?
Yes,
just
that'd
so
be lovely. Yeah, you can get a feel for it. Yeah, wonderful.
I'm Birgitta Hedin-Curtin, the owner, founder and managing director of the Burren Smokehouse Limited, as well as the Taste the Atlantic salmon experience. We're here in Listowvarna, in the Burren, not too far away from the Cliffs of Moher. The Burren Smokehouse is an artisan smokehouse. We believe smoking is an art and a craft, and we also believe that sourcing locally is really, really important to us. So all we smoke here would be from Ireland and the west coast of Ireland. So we smoke the Irish organic salmon, the Irish wild salmon in season, and also the Irish mackerel and trout. In the Taste the Atlantic, the salmon experience, you can learn more about Irish wild salmon, the salmon of knowledge story, and also about the Irish organic salmon, where it swims, what it feeds on, and how it is come to our door. You can also learn a bit about the nutritional values, the sustainable methods of producing it on the west coast of Ireland. And there's some interactive multisensory things you can do with your family or yourself, little jigsaws and different quizzes. So when you're finished learning more about the salmon, you can come into our shop, bring some salmon home to you to taste, or indeed you can get it shipped directly from our smokehouse.
And you can ship international as well, right?
Yeah, we can say we are FDA approved, so we can ship to US and Canada, and also all over Europe, of course, and within Ireland. Perfect. So do you want to show the second video as well? That is more kind of about the VIP experience that we give.
I just have a short one. Let me just see if that's the one.
Just while Gio is getting it there, there's a fantastic brewery next door, which belongs to Birgitta's husband. And I must say, Marc and I had an amazing time there when we were doing site inspections for this tour. So that'll be, well, I don't know if people will have much time to spend there, but definitely they'll be popping in and saying hello.
Yeah, and I suppose it depends on what, you know, we have a range of experiences, but for the particular photographic journey, I suppose to be more the smokehouse. And what we want to give the opportunity to see the back end, like where the actual smoking is happening. And that is very unique to Adams Butler, that we bring, you know, private customers just down into the smokehouse itself, which is not usually the case for anybody just walking in the door here, or for some of the experiences. So we want to give that personal experience from us who started the company to our visitors that's come. That is, when they come, there would be somebody we don't know, and then when we leave, they're like friends. You know, it's fantastic. We really love looking after people, and I suppose both Peter and myself are good communicators. So we love talking about what we're doing and sharing that experience. And Peter's a great storyteller as well, so he's definitely somebody to experience in the roadside tavern and also in the Burren Brewery. So you can do brewery tours as part of the VIP experience. So it combines the brewery, the roadside tavern, gastropub, and the Burren Smokehouse, and this is all within walking distance of each other. So you can have a lot of experiences in a 2-hour visit, and of course have some lunch with the smoked salmon and the beer.
And you can make a day out of it, because there's other places to visit that you could combine with yourselves, like the Burren Perfumery, which people love. Like there's lots of little things around, lots of little micro companies and smaller companies, so you get a real taste of what the local flavor is and the local culture. Gio, did you find the video there?
Yeah, I have it here ready. Just 1 second. It's just a short one. Yeah.
So that's specifically to the Meet the Maker experience and the VIP experience, where you get to see both places. And that's what we're working very much with Siobhan to give that experience to whoever coming along. So, but it's a huge community. Like the Burren is an amazing community with incredible sites. So you have combining seeing the landscape and then eating and tasting from that landscape as well.
And then another thing, by the way, just someone said my husband would love this when they're looking at the salmon and the beer. But another thing to bear in mind as well is that Padraic's going to mention is it can be used as a transfer day. So if you have a client traveling for a week or 2 weeks in Ireland, they can use it as a transfer day. But he'll go into that in depth later. So thanks a million, Birgitta. So now we're going over to Tommy. Is it Gio?
Yeah, we had a short little recipe, it's also just a few seconds. I just showed the last video, but we'll share that in social media later as well, but just give you a taste. That's for all of you that are coming to your lunchtime there.
Thanks a million, Gio. Thinking of us as always. So over to you, Tommy. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me today. I suppose to introduce myself, I have 2 names here. One is Balor Otherworld, the other is Tommy. So my real name is Tommy, but I've been using Balor for I suppose storytelling. Part of the reasoning behind that name is Balor is an old Irish legend that was partly inspired aspects of Lord of the Rings, like the Balrog and Sauron. So loving those books when I was younger, I found the name wasn't being used by anybody, so I took it and I've been using it since. So I'm really I suppose I do a lot of things. I make films, so I'm a local filmmaker, and I'm also a storyteller. So an awful lot of what I do is connected with the Cliffs of Moher, doing tours up there. Now everyone has different ability levels, everyone has different backgrounds. So I suppose I'm always open to, I always want to see with the group what will enhance the experience as much as possible for them. Maybe 2 or 3 days a year, there'll be just dreadful weather, really bad storms, and I'll have a group who just say, look, we're not able to do it today, and we'll switch things up and we'll head to some old stone forts and some churches where there'll be other stories that I'll link in with their journey. If there's anything else while they're in Ireland that I can kind of connect with their experience on the cliffs, I'll do that as well. And a big thing I find is, for a lot of people traveling to Ireland, they're coming because they have some kind of personal connection with the island, whether it was family emigrated from Ireland, or maybe culturally they feel an affinity with the place. So I always find it's very important to bridge the different cultures. So I've done a lot of research into things like the ancient Olympics, that it was based on an Irish games that predates it. Zorro comes from County Wexford on the east coast of Ireland. Like there's so many stories that people don't realize. So often, while my focus is on the cliffs, we do find that we end up going down an awful lot of these other rabbit holes where people just are learning things they wouldn't have expected to learn about Ireland and how it affects the wider world, in terms of sport, music, literature. So it's a range of things. I think it's really about what the person is looking to get out of it. And
Tommy, I have to ask you, what have you got in your hand?
Oh yeah. So this is a walking stick, I suppose I call it, that I have. I have a few of these. I mainly use them on the cliffs. So I've had a few people who, on occasion, I've had 1 or 2 times where people have had a bad ankle, especially older men who don't want to carry a walking stick. So I keep these handy, and it looks a bit more masculine. So people are always happy to have one of these. So it was actually made in the Burren. Guy I know makes them, and so it's I was very lucky to have that contact, and everything I wear when I'm on the tours is actually made locally. So it's a local fashion designer who makes all the clothes I'm wearing here. And it's the same like everything else. I've jewelry that's linked to Irish mythology and history. Each thing I carry with me tells a story. So it's all to bring people into this kind of, as I say, other world of Irish history and folklore.
Well, I'll show your video really quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
We'll do that first, and then just give a sense of.
Are you planning an experience in Ireland? Do you want to explore the cliffs of Moher, the castles of Ireland, and discover more of our rich history, folklore and heritage? My name is Dara, and I'm a storyteller and tour guide. Join me for an unforgettable experience and see Ireland as you've never seen it before.
So just for those of you who might know what the Burren is, it's an area south of Galway in Clare, and it has its own unique ecosystem with its own flora and fauna. And there's lots of characters like Tommy there, like Birgitta, like different people popping all over the place. So lots of things to see and do. And if you want to explore the Burren, the hotels will be Dromoland, Adair, Gregan's Castle hotels in Galway. Even, you go as far afield almost as Ashford and come back. Doonbeg, is very clear, very near the Hinch, the Cliffs of Moher as well. And in fact, you can do it from Kerry when you're traveling somewhere else. And then you sort of specialize in old fairy tales and legends and fables as well.
Yeah, so an awful lot of our stories, I suppose, usually there's a link between the history and a lot of forgotten history. Kind of we embellish it and it becomes a folktale. So what I try and do is I find an awful lot of Americans. So I worked in hotels for years, and I found that an awful lot of people traveling to Ireland, the biggest obstacle to them maybe getting the most out of Irish folklore and history was our oral tradition, because things get retold hundreds of different ways. So when I'm telling the stories, I take every version of a story I can find, and I try and make one one version that encapsulates as many elements as possible. So I can answer to any other versions people have heard that might throw them off. It helps me to kind of steer people and provide a little bit more immersion when delivering the storytelling. So
fantastic. And then if there's any different areas that they're interested in, you can deviate and focus in on their area.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You can tailor make it to whatever they want in advance, or even on the spot if there's something that they're really interested in. I was with you, and I remember I was throwing things at you that we were discussing together, which was great because you knew a bit of everything that I was interested in, which was fantastic. So that's brilliant. Thank you very
I've
much.
got two short little videos here, just very short ones. I know these are a little bit older, Tommy, but it just to show people.
We're at Hag's Head at the south of the Cliffs of Moher. There's an awful lot more here than just stories of witches and spirits. There are tales of mermaids. There are tales of an enormous eel which would climb onto the shore, consuming the dead from the cemeteries around Liscannor. It took a saint putting a great amount of magic, embracing pagan and Christian magics, and trapping the eel. Recently, the sculpture which had marked his seal has been eroded, and there are talks that some secret group has released him. There have been reports.
And just another quick one here.
We are at Hag's Head, at the southern point of the Cliffs of Moher. This is where the hag resided, the lady who guarded against the forces of the otherworld, returning and wreaking chaos upon us. Her name was Mal of Malbay, as she became known. You will have been told lies about her. She was known for her great love of Cuchulainn, who didn't reciprocate. She ended up losing her life trying to protect this man. We are at Hag's Head.
All right, there was just some little examples there of what you can get when you're touring with Tommy.
So fantastic. Thanks a million, Tommy. Thanks a lot. And by the way, everyone has to remember as well, that area is also Queen Maeve country, the pirate queen and everything. So there's lots of stories there, especially about women, if you want to celebrate Halloween or, St. Bridget in that area as well, etc. So we're going to move on to Padraic, who I hope is there because he's coming to us from Spain.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sister Siobhan. That has a great ring to it. But anyway, so I just want to tell you a little bit about, I suppose, some of you I might have met before doing these virtual fans, but I worked with Adams and Butler now for over 7 years, and mainly create experiences for your guests via Adams and Butler in the west of Ireland, both in Galway, the Aran Islands, Connemara, and to a certain extent in Clare, because it's all very accessible. The Aran Islands themselves are accessible via County Clare and Doolin, very close to where Tommy and Birgitta are based, and also by flight from Connemara, which is where I'm from myself, and also by ferry from Connemara. So there's plenty access points to the Aran Islands. And as a matter of fact, while we're on that subject, sometimes maybe if some of your guests are doing a transfer day and are traveling from Adare or Dromoland, maybe up to Ashford or Ballynahinch or Galway, they can use the Aran Islands as a transfer day. So their driver can drop them off at Doolin. I'll meet them there. We'll take the ferry across to one of the islands. And then later on in that afternoon, early evening, we'll fly out to Connemara and their driver will pick them up on the other side. So in other words, their road time will be cut significantly, and they'll also get to do an experience during that transfer day. So that's just one of the points that I wanted to mention there.
And Padraic, one of the things that does come up is a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to go to the islands, but I'm worried about getting seasick." But it's a very cheap and a very quick flight out, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So the flight takes 8 minutes, all of 8 minutes. So don't expect any in-flight service. But the ferry from Doolin is only 20 minutes to Inisheer, which Marc highlighted that iconic image of the cemetery that's on Inisheer. And it's very, very accessible, 20 minutes each way. But you can also go out via the cliffs. And there is an option as well to charter a rib which gets you right underneath the cliffs, and then a 20-minute transfer across to the island. So you're ticking kind of 2 boxes there in one day. And also, it's probably worth mentioning as well that if you're time poor, and if you're based in Connemara and Galway, you can fly over the cliffs. So Air Aran offers a charter service where you can charter the whole flight, and you can literally fly down one side of the cliffs and back up the other side, and then transfer over to the Aran Islands and spend a pleasant afternoon there before flying back again to Connemara.
It's
So a lot of options.
8-seater plane, isn't it?
It's an 8-seater plane, and if you're lucky enough, you can get to sit beside the pilot as well. So you'll have the best views of the Connemara coastline, Galway Bay, and the Aran Islands, and the cliffs in the distance.
Padraic, we were talking about the photo that Marc took. You have a lovely story about one of our clients and that graveyard and the little sunken church there. Do you want to tell it?
That's right. And that image that Marc took, I don't know, some of you noticed, if you looked through that Celtic cross, that the one that's kind of made from a type of iron, you could see the Cliffs of Moher. So the beginning of the Cliffs of Moher you could see in the distance, because it's only 6 nautical miles across. So you were actually capturing the cemetery and the church, but you were also seeing the cliffs in the distance. So well done there, Marc. But anyway, yeah, so a family, a band of brothers, 4 brothers from California came last year. And the reason for their trip to Ireland was their first time ever coming to Ireland was to scatter the ashes of their late dad, whose father came from County Clare. So part of the ashes were going into the family plot in County Clare, but they wanted to pick one other place in Ireland where they felt would be ideally what their father would have liked. And when they saw that 10th century church in that very cemetery that Marc took the photo in, they said, this is where Dad is going. So for something that I thought was, a tour, became very, very significant at the end of the day and very emotional. And even I didn't know the gentleman in person, but we just said a few quiet prayers and scattered his ashes in that 10th century church. So it was a lovely experience, I have to say.
And it's one thing that happens quite a lot in Ireland with our clients. A lot of them carry the ashes of someone they love with them, because maybe they would have always loved to have gone to Ireland but never had the opportunity. And sometimes they bring them with the intention of just bringing them and bringing them home. But I've seen so many times, places that are very special, like the waterfalls in Kerry and the mountains and the islands and the churches and the cemeteries, they do sort of, cry out, and people feel very happy leaving their loved ones at rest in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and again, the landscapes, and I hope some of your clients may be able to come on the photography tour, but there's such a contrast in the whole of Ireland in terms of landscapes, from the east coast, where you have, I suppose, the most fertile ground, to the ruggedness of the west coast of Ireland. And that's why people, I think, really like the west coast of Ireland, because it is very rugged. There's cliffs, there's mountains, there's valleys, there's streams. Okay, we're not going to be wealthy farmers in the west of Ireland unless you can farm rocks. But other than that, it holds something special, and you'll definitely see that. You'll see that on the Aran Islands, when you get a chance to come over and visit. And also, I suppose, the west of Ireland during the British occupation of Ireland, because the land was so poor, the British generals had no interest in going west of the Shannon, or mostly west of the Shannon. And that's why the Irish language has thrived. And I'm one of the lucky ones, along with Dara, who you're going to meet shortly, where Irish is our first language. So 10% of the Irish population speak Irish on a daily basis. I'm fortunate enough that I'm one of them. So the culture, I suppose, and the language thrived in the west of Ireland because it wasn't influenced by British culture. So you're going to get music, you're going to get song, you're going to get Irish poetry, Irish language poetry. And maybe something that people don't know is place names in Ireland don't make a lot of sense in English. But when you translate them into Irish, or when you see the Irish meaning, they have absolute 100% meaning to what it is. And I'll give you an example. A little satellite town outside of Galway called Athenry, spelled Athenry. You could say at Henry, who is Henry? What's that about? But when you translate that into the Irish meaning, it's Baile Ohanria, which means the town of the king's fort. So, you know, every name in Irish, place name in Irish makes sense, but not so much the Anglicization of those names, which took part in years ago, or in history. But just getting back to that, I suppose the Irish language thrives in the west of Ireland, and I know my American guests love to hear me speaking Irish to the locals out in the Aran Islands or in Connemara. They love to hear me talking to, you know, their Irish driver who may have just had school Irish, but like we have a bit of fun and we have a bit of crack, as we say in Ireland, you know, conversing and bringing them on that journey through the Irish language.
Will I
But as
show
well as
your?
sorry, yeah, just you before we go there, just to think of like when you're thinking of the West Coast, you don't have to do a whole tour of Ireland in order to do the West. Like we had a lady who came out on New Year's Eve. Do you remember Padraic? And we were with her during New Year's, and I think she was with us for 2 nights only. But she just wanted to go somewhere different, and we travelled with her. And we brought her around, and she met some really amazing, interesting people, and had lots of stories to tell when she went home. So don't, you know, pigeonhole you know, the west of Ireland into a few days or a week or whatever you want, we can make that happen for you, because we're used to doing that,
Yeah.
Padraic.
And even Birgitta's story there, she came to listen to Irish music, and she ended up staying 40 years later. But the same, our private dining host on Inisheer, which she was only 21, 22 when she came to the Aran Islands not with her parents, but with her grandparents. But she met one of the local horse and trap drivers. He slipped her the old number. They kept in touch. She was from Wisconsin. He went over to visit. She came back, and 2 years later, age 23, she moved lock, stock, and barrel to this island with a population of only 280 people. She ended up settling there. They got married. And meanwhile, they were expecting their first child. She has 3 children now. Brendan Patrick, he's 15. And her parents had separated in Wisconsin, and her mom said, "I'll come over, Alyssa, and I'll help you with the baby for 6 months." And guess what happened? And true Irish love story, she met an islander, her mother, and she's now living on the island as well. So both of them, 2 of the population of 280 are technically Wisconsinites, but living on the island of Inisheer. So yes, love brings a lot of people to Ireland too.
So we're going to show you a video now. And bear in mind, this is normally for, say, groups of people who'll be traveling who want to experience the pub culture. But the reason we're showing the video, because normally we do a lot of VIPs, but it gives you an idea again of the landscape. And as we would say, the crack, which is the fun that you, someone says, "I'm from Wisconsin." What part are they from? Do you know? It's a small world.
She's from Appleton and went to school in Madison. So I believe Madison is the big kind of college town in Wisconsin. So hopefully you'll get to come over and visit her and chat to her yourself.
Anyone with clients from Wisconsin, send them over, and they're going to have a surprise. Don't say it in advance, and it's a great surprise when they hear. Yeah. So we'll show that video now, and thanks a million, Padraic, and then we'll go on to Dara.
Fáilte sí Foley. Welcome to Foley's Bear, Billadingen.
Fáilte Warriv, Goody, Chidio Kane or Mom. You're very welcome to Kane's in Manbally.
whilst being a drunk today, and I held them sober, being a handsome rover from a tower to tower, but I am a drunk now.
Archigina largest spinner. Welcome to the largest spinning. Here me the function.
Shulamut no rejoin, ago sashin go tizinone. No golekim develero, and go his magnum slanoy holto. Mohogna no chair hort maiden, nor could magos nom. Magus yul, mamahum all be, hit your kali.
I was muted there and I forgot. Just one thing I have to say as well, the other experience that I absolutely adore is that off-the-road experience in Inishmore when you go to where they do the Red Bull, you know, diving and everything. There's so many things to see in Duport, isn't there?
There is, yeah, and again, Dara, who lives on that island, I'm sure will share more information with you on that. But yeah, absolutely. And even I remember clients here, Siobhan, last year, he was 87 and his wife was 84. And I learned just before they come that he was a geologist. So rather than sending him to Inishmore, I thought there's more for him to see on Inishmore. And he was absolutely captivated by it. And we learned so much about geology on the Aran Islands. We thought we knew everything, but we were learning it from a master. So yeah, we can be flexible in changing itineraries around clients' needs.
Fantastic. Thanks a million, Padraic. So now we're going to go over to Dara. And Dara is based, he's from Dublin. It's very funny. I was asking him earlier today, and you don't say what part of Dublin, you say what side. So there's Southsiders and Northsiders, and it's a funny expression in Dublin. We talk about the sides. But you've been on the islands for 40 years now on Inishmore. So can you tell us what brought you there?
Well, I can, yes. Yeah, I was a Catholic priest at the time, very unhappy with the institutional life that I was living as a Catholic priest. I was teaching in a boarding school in Dundalk at the time, and I really was frustrated with the lifestyle that I was living. And I discovered the Aran Islands quite by accident, brought a group of young people there on a camping holiday, and said, this would be a far better place for me to live. And I discovered that the monks had lived there in the Middle Ages. The three islands are covered with these ancient churches, like Champelquavan in Asir that you saw earlier. But there's about 10 different churches on Inishmore, most of them dating from that time, from 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th to 12th century, that sort of time. So I said, if the monks could live out here in the past, and they were sort of giving this wonderful expression to Irish spirituality as I saw it, I'd like to do the same. So that's what brought me here. And I lived as a Celtic hermit for 10 years and ran a house of hospitality. So I lived in a little hut, and the house beside me was an old thatched cottage. And I just ran an open house. And people came all the time over the 10 years. Thousands of people came and stayed. Some for just one night, others for a year or two. So it was very, very flexible, very loose, no real rules. Anyway, after the 10 years, I left the Catholic Church and became a sort of I call myself a freelance priest. People laugh at that because I don't have a bishop or a parish or a diocese. I simply offered people ceremonies in the Celtic spiritual tradition. That's, if you like, my roots. My roots are in the Celtic spiritual tradition, and I'm totally passionate about it. I think we have the richest treasure of all. We have lots of treasures in Ireland, but the richest treasure of all is our spirituality, which is so connected to nature and sees the sacred in everything around us. So that keeps me going. So most of the work I do is ceremonies for people. Can be weddings, can be vow renewals. I'm just back from doing a celebration of somebody's life. They died just after Christmas. And I do everything else in between. And I also lead people around the island here, especially in Inishmore, to the sacred sites, and I tell them all about it. I have lots and lots of stories, not of Ireland particularly, but I have lots of stories about Inishmore, and I'm very happy to tell people those stories.
And so if clients wanted to have a renewal of vows or a wedding, or they wanted to, like if they're bringing over the ashes of someone, or even just to celebrate the life without, having the ashes, we can do that with you on the islands, or even on the Cliffs of Moher, like we did for clients recently.
Exactly, a rite of passage in every sense, even moving into a later life. That can be a rite of passage too. I've done all of those things here, and I do a lot with the landscape. In particularly I have a place very close to my house here called Thabhart Ciaráin, the Holy Well of St. Ciaráin, and it has some lovely items on the landscape. There's the Holy Well, which people do the rounds of, so I can bring people to do the rounds. Very, very traditional and very ancient, a ritual practice of praying, walking around a well in a sunwise direction. I have a sacred tree beside the Holy Well, which is a sacred hawthorn tree, and you can tie a ribbon on that to represent your intention. And then there's a wishing stone. There's a contract stone, which I use in weddings or in vow renewals, where people can renew their vows by touching the first finger of their right hand on each side into the hole. And when the two fingers touch, you have renewed your vows or confirmed your vows or whatever it is. So more and more, I'm using rituals, not just words. So people have sort of actions that they can perform in the course of the ceremony, which most people would find very interesting and resonate for them.
I have a snippet of the video of a wedding, of a longer video, but we'll just show there a little bit. I'm going to show two little parts of it.
Yeah.
You boys are happy anyway, are you? You're not complaining of the rain yet.
They've been bribed with money, so
Bribed with money and chocolate.
Chocolate and money today.
We'll get on with the ceremony because we have a little break in the weather now, so hopefully it'll last a full time. You're welcome, both of you. It's a lovely moment, I know, for you in your lives. And you've chosen this place. Thank you for coming here. And this particular location here on the island is one of the many sacred spots on the island. You see the monks lived here. That's why the church is there. They had an existence here for 1100 years in total. It's a long time. Before them, the Druids used to worship here with the Holy Well and with the standing stone, which we'll see in a minute. So it's always been a sacred place for everybody who lived on this island, going back at least 5,000 years. So that's pretty impressive, isn't it? Our earliest monuments here are 5,000 years old, the dolmens. So that's the energy in the background to this ceremony. And I want you to just be aware of it, that you're in a very sacred spot, and you're going to add to the sacredness of this place because we're having a sacred moment. So we're going to open the ceremony with an invocation to all the elements around us here. May the gentle breeze bear witness to this ritual, provide for you from its bounty, and comfort your souls with their sounds. May the earth lend its strength and reveal its mysteries. So now you come over to the sacred tree, the hawthorn tree. See it here with all the ribbons on it? That's marking the Holy Well. And you have to take a ribbon and tie it to the tree. So normally, you come and pick the ribbon.
Right.
No,
one set red, one set blue. You've got purple. You've got purple, that's both. Yeah? Okay.
Give it a chuck. Yeah. Now, when you go to the tree, have an intention in your mind. I mean, there can be the intention, not just the tree. Have an intention at your time. Piece of a new growth.
And I'm just going to show another little part of the ceremony.
I told you we had 4 stations. It's quite warm, isn't it?
Just while you're getting that, if anyone is thinking of getting married in Ireland, please get officially married in Canada first. And then you can have the ceremony, because
monks
there
carved
was
their
a
images on
incident
it. You
one
can
time
see
the
the
clients
cross
got
etchings up
married,
and so on.
and
But
their
I think
divorce
the
papers
Druids
came
would
through
have
before the
appeared
marriage
before the
paper.
monks
So
ever
please
came.
get you know, make sure you
Because,
do everything
Druids
in
never built
America
churches
in
or
advance
temples.
before coming
All
over.
their worship was outdoors. But they often marked their sacred places with a stone. And the stone would not just mark the sacred place, it would actually mark the center point of the energy. And we've had groups of people come here with divining rods and these swinging pendulums. I've never done it myself, but these other groups have. And they've said, yeah, that's the center point. So I think I'm right in that theory, that the Druids would have put the stone here. So there's an energy there for you. We're going to bless you on this energy point. So the stone itself can be a symbol for the masculine. We can use it today as a symbol for the masculine. The way they do well is a symbol for the feminine. So just as we drew blessing.
And by the way, in the background there, you had a piper, an uilleann piper, Ronan Brown. He's a very famous uilleann piper who used to play for Riverdance. So he's available. He lives just across on the mainland from where I live, and he's available for performing in weddings and ceremonies as well.
Yeah, he actually played for one client of ours, one that came over New Year, I think, if I remember correctly, Padraic.
Yeah,
That was really important.
that's him. Yeah, that's Ronan.
And he had some Japanese instruments as well. Do you remember that he played, which was good, where we could see the you know,
Yeah.
the merging of two cultures into one.
He has a great personality and he's very entertaining in himself, apart from his music.
And his wife, if I remember correctly, she was very entertaining.
She was indeed, yeah.
So that's brilliant. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. If you need any information, you just send us an email at sales@adamsandbutler.com, and we'll be able to send it on to you. We'll be doing another webinar probably in 2 to 3 weeks. I'm traveling at the moment. As I mentioned, I'm actually in a convent, hence the reference from, Padraic to Sister Siobhan in New Orleans. But once we're back in Ireland, we'll have them on a weekly basis. So thank you all very, very much. And a recording will be sent to everyone who registered, and it'll be put up then on our website as well. But if anyone was very interested in the spiritual element as well, there was a very good webinar we did in St. Bridget, and we talked, to various people for that. And it's our new national day in Ireland, and it's lovely that we recognise a female saint as well. So do go back over past webinars if you have any interest in that area as well. So thank you very much. Take care, everyone, and see you on the next webinar.